Hi. So now you've watched the What is a Speech video. If you haven't watched that, go do that. So now in class, I usually sort of pause and say, like, great, I've taught you what a speech is. You know, you don't have to be afraid. You're in a safe space here. So let's just rock and we'll all do speeches. Everybody ready? And usually about half the class is like, no. I still don't want to give a speech. Actually, probably more than half the class. um, So now it really naturally leads into okay, just because we've like deconstructed what a speech is, thought about it in a different way, doesn't change how we maybe feel. And so then, why are we nervous? Why do we get nervous? What causes the nerves? And what happens because of the nerves? Okay? Um, Now, maybe you're in a really small percentage, and I'll be honest, I'm in that small percentage. I just don't get nervous. I get excited, but I'm not scared at all to talk in front of people. And if you're one of those people, rock on. Really quick story, because people just assume you're always nervous. I have a TED Talk. If you want to watch my TED Talk, it is on my email. You can also really easily find it just by Googling my name. It'll come right up. Um, and the morning I was going to give my TED Talk, it was a whole long TED conference, and I was second. So this guy went first. His name's Nate. You can find his too. His is about love and marshmallows. Him and his wife own a candy company out in California. Anyway, so he went first. He had really great energy, and then I went second, and we just like kicked off the day. And so I was really worried about mine being over time. And so I was like practicing for the makeup women. I was like off in a corner, just like making sure I knew my words so that I didn't ad lib and add a whole bunch of time because I am tendency to do that. And so he saw the guy who went after me, or the guy who went before me, sorry, Nate, saw my partner, Matthew, like just hanging out later. And Matthew said, "Hey, you did a really nice job." And Nate says, "Oh, thanks. Who are you? How are how are you? Blah blah blah." And he says, "Oh, I'm Matthew Colley. I'm partners with Megan, who went after you." And this guy goes, "Oh yeah, she was really nervous this morning." And Matthew, who knows I don't get nervous, was like, "Really? Why do you say that?" And he was like, "Oh, she was practicing her words. She was practicing. She was clearly nervous." And I thought that was so funny. I was like, "Oh no, I was practicing because I wasn't nervous and I was afraid I'd talk forever." Um, so if you're in that small percentage, just like hang out, and this is good info for you to know. Most of you probably aren't. Most of you probably get some kind of physical or mental nervousness symptom when you're told, like, hey, it's time to give a speech. Hey, you have to talk in front of these people. Um, and so the question is, what happens to your body when you get nervous? Because I think we could talk about why you get nervous. Um, but I kind of want to save that, and I kind of want to go right to like the tangible stuff we could write down. You know, what is the things that happen to your body when you get nervous? So start thinking of the things that happen to your body when you get nervous. And hopefully you're kind of thinking of these, right? Like maybe your heart starts to beat fast, which of course is going to send the blood rushing. Does anybody get red? Because if your blood rushes, then you're going to get red. I had a former student who, oh my gosh, he turned so red whenever he spoke. He was in a national final round. I mean, he's an amazing public speaker, and his whole body just turns bright red whenever he speaks. Um, you get the butterflies in your stomach. Kind of feels like weird things happening in your stomach. Maybe you get shaky. Your knees shake. I had a student once who came to me and said, "I don't really feel nervous, but my knees shake." And I'm afraid the audience can see it. And I, you know, don't want them to notice, and I'll talk about what I told her later. Does anybody know why you get shaky or why you get sweaty? It's because your adrenaline is pumping. And so adrenaline is a hormone and it's pumping in you. And so that causes you to shake and sweat. That also helps your heart beat faster and your blood rush. Sometimes people get dry mouth. Sometimes people start salivating. Bodies are weird and they act in different ways. Sometimes your tongue feels weird or it gets too big. It's hard to talk. That connects, like sometimes your throat goes weird. And of course, that's all connected to your dry mouth and the salivating and all of that. Some people say they can't focus. They've done all this practicing, and then they get up there and their mind goes blank, and they can't focus, or maybe their thoughts are rushing, their mind is racing, and either way, like they've practiced, and then you just forget, right? And so you may have thought of other sort of symptoms that happen, but these are kind of the big ones. And maybe I'm hoping that you're like, oh yeah, that happens to me, or, that you're recognizing some of these things as like, yeah, when I get nervous or when I'm told I have to give a speech, this is what my body starts to do. So here's the big question. Why does your body do this? Anybody know? So a lot of times students will say fight or flight, right? And so that's basically where your body knows. It's as a YouTuber I like, or she's a speaker. She says you're either ready to run or rumble, fight or flight. But here's the thing: humans historically have only really been exposed to fight or flight in very specific instances. So your body doesn't know what's happening to you. Your body, because it's like historically programmed. Are you ready for this? Your body is getting ready to run from the tiger. I am not kidding you. We have these, historical programmed responses. And so we believe that a predator is coming, and that's why our body does this. We're getting ready to run from the tiger because that's how we survived for hundreds of years, right? So look at these symptoms now. Think how great these are if you had to run from a tiger, right? Like your heart's like, let's go, here we go. Blood is pumping, adrenaline is pumping, you're sweaty, you're shaky, so you're gonna run. Like it's all like pumping in you. Stomach, you don't need to digest things right now. Shut that down. Throat, what are you going to talk to the tiger? Shut that down, right? Mind, what are you going to think with the tiger? You don't need to think to run. So these symptoms are so great for running from tigers. Super bad for giving speeches. And your body can't tell the difference between the threat of a tiger or a predator and the nervousness of giving a speech. So it does the same reactions that it would if it were having to run away. Fight or flight. So where I always start with nerves is one, explaining this concept, because I think once you understand how this works, it's a lot easier to recognize why you're nervous and then figure out what to do about that. And the very first thing that I tell people is, in order to start getting your nerves under control, if you're really nervous to give a speech, you have to physically convince your body there is no tiger. There is no tiger. You're not gonna die. I know that sounds dramatic, but like if that's what your body believes is happening, that's how it's gonna react. So one of the biggest ways to start doing that is just to start to psychologically convince yourself that you're safe and that there's no tiger. Nobody's gonna eat you. I'm not gonna let anybody eat you, right? Not in this class, certainly. And if you are scared about being eaten at a public speaking event, you call me. I'll come. I'll come right over and make sure no one eats you, right? Your family's not going to die. Nobody's going to get hurt, right? There is no tiger. So your body can just relax. And it doesn't have to be ready to run because there's nothing to run from. There is no tiger. Once you establish there's no tiger, then it gets a lot easier to treat your nerves. So some tips about convincing your body of this: write a note, write a big stick-it note, put it on your computer when you're giving speeches for this class, and it just says there is no tiger, you are safe. The book has a lot of good tips about nerves, and I'm going to expand on some of them and then add to some of them. But the first one is self-talk, right? If what is causing your nervousness is your internal processing and your fears inside of you, you have to change that before you can get rid of those nervousness feelings and physical symptoms. Your brain is what causes the nervousness. Say that with me. Your brain is what causes the nervousness. If your knees are shaking, it's not going to do any good to like hold your knees, right? Or if you're turning red, it's not going to do any good to try to like fix your skin. It's not your skin doing it. It's not your knees doing it. It's your brain. So you need to change your brain to stop the symptom. Self-talk is great. Meditation is great because that starts to shift your brain, right? Before we do our first speech, I will post a meditation that you can do before it that I do in class. Just a really simple breathing mind exercise that just focuses your brain. The biggest thing that I think is important is catching your inner monologue. So we all have an inner monologue, right? That says things to ourselves. And it's really kind of normal to have kind of a yucky inner monologue, especially about things like giving speeches, right? It's really normal to be like, I'm going to suck. I'm going to be so bad at this. I'm so bad at public. I'm bad at I'm going to die. It's going to be terrible. They're going to laugh at me. All of that. Especially like, that's not true. Those things aren't true, right? And some of them maybe could be, but thinking them beforehand, I mean, it's just not connected. So you have to change that inner monologue. You have to say instead, I worked really hard. Always be truthful, right? I worked really hard on this. I am strong. I am confident. When I say always be truthful, there is a level of like fake it till you make it or fake it till you become it, as a TED Talk woman says. If you've seen the Power Poses video, I'll actually post that video so that you can watch it if you want. Yeah, so doing these things to shift your brain, meditating, focus, inner monologue work, writing notes, that's going to be a big help. Breathing is huge. I know we don't think about it, but like, since your body is doing all of these physical symptoms, one way to counter those physical symptoms is through breath. Breath is going to help calm you, reset you, right? It's going to give air to your heart and your blood, and so they don't feel like they have to rush so much. It's going to be a great way, to do that. Another thing to think about is, control what you can control. Control what you can control. And let go of what you can't. So that's going to help too, I think, when thinking about nervousness. A lot of times these get mixed up and we're just nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget my words. I'm going to, well, you can control knowing your words. Now, you can't control your mind going blank and like, all your words, but they just don't come. You can't control that. So you got to not worry about that. If it happens, it happens. You can't control it. You can do, like I said, meditation, thought process to try to prevent that, but that happens to the best of us. I won an award one time, and the woman who's known me for years, she's known me for years and years and years. I didn't know this, but she has terrible communication apprehension, which is what this nervousness is called, right? And I mean, she coaches a nationally ranked speech team. Like, I would have never guessed that she has really bad communication apprehension. She totally forgot my name. She went to announce my name for the award. She's known me for years. She knows me. We are friends. And she just completely forgot my name. And she stood there and she smiled. And she said, "It's so exciting," and blah, 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 as she's like trying to find the name. I mean, it happens to the best of us. And she came up and apologized. I was like, oh my gosh, don't worry about it. It's not going to be a big deal. If you mess up, it's not going to be a big deal. You're going to see it's just not going to be a big deal. So control what you can control, right? Practice your speech. Practice your speech, right? Organize your speech. Be ready so that you feel in control of what you're doing, right? Then it'll be easier to let go of what you can't control. If you aren't prepared, if you don't know your topic, if you haven't done enough work for yourself, that's going to add to your nervousness. Because a lot of times when I'm like, who wants to come up and give a speech? People are always like, what would I talk on? Right? Like, it's like, if you know what you're talking about, and whereas then if I'm like, come talk about your favorite band, people are like, oh, okay, like, I know how to talk about my favorite band. I don't even need to prepare for that, right? So if you can minimize, the things that make you anxious, that's going to help. And that's going to give you more of an ability then to let go of the things you can't control. The book has a lot more tips, or I should say has some other stuff in it, and breaks down the different types of nervousness, and talks a little bit more about why it's called communication apprehension instead of just general anxiety or nervousness. They do talk a little bit about the differences between situational and trait anxiety. They give a couple of other types of anxiety, but those are the two big ones, right? Trait means it's in you. So you can't, no matter what you do, like, you're just anxious. That's when, like, people talk about having an anxiety disorder, or when they're anxious for no reason, right? Situational is what you feel when you're not nervous or not anxious, and then someone says you have to give a speech, and then you're like, ah. And then if they're like, it's only 2 people and it's in a small conference room, and you're like, oh, okay. That doesn't make me nervous. But if they're like, it's 100 people and it's in a theater, and then you're like, ah, right? Like, so that the situational anxiety, depends on the situation. They also talk about context anxiety, which I think is very similar to situational anxiety, but there's slight differences. So check that out. Hopefully you've already read it, but please feel free to go back and look if that will help. And if you listen to this part, if you are super, super nervous, like this class is ruining your life, and the idea of giving speeches, even on a video, makes you nauseous, and you absolutely do not want to do it, and you can't believe you're here, and you're trying your best, but you hate everything, email me. Email me immediately. Do not wait. Do not wait until the night before the speech to let me know. Let me know right now so we can work together and figure it out, okay? I'm here for you. I'm here for you. No matter what level you are on this anxiousness, whether you're like super pumped to give speeches, not nervous at all, sat through this video because you felt like you had to, whether like you're in the middle and you're like, oh, this video is very helpful, I'm not too nervous, but like, yeah, this is going to help. Or whether it's like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to give speeches. My advisor made me take this class. Like, wherever you are, I'm here for you, okay? So just keep me posted, let me know. And remember, there is no tiger.